And you're waking up with Damo here on 4WK. Time for us to get some history in our ears. And, of course, we do that with History Out There and Harold Peacock. Good morning, mate.
Yes, good morning, Damo. Yeah, more history in the ears. And I just want to say I'm not advocating anyone acts the way this person did 175 years ago. It's just an interesting story how things have changed.
Fantastic. Well, we're going back to 1850. And, it's something that we don't really, wish people to do we?
Yeah, that's right. Look, back in 1850, this is back when Moreton Bay Colony was still part of New South Wales, and it's a remarkable legal case that showed, on the Darling Downs at least, it was actually quite all right to assault constables. Now, again, I'm not advocating that at all. This 175 years ago, things have changed. But back then, the privileged person was a Mr. William Horton. Now, he'd been convicted of theft in England and was transported to Australia for 7 years. He was 16 years old when he arrived, and he found his way up here to the Moreton Bay Colony. Now, when Horton was 27, he married a 16-year-old girl. He achieved high office and became a councillor at Drayton, here in Toowoomba. And most importantly, he was also the proprietor of the Bull's Head Inn at Drayton.
Right.
Now, his inn was actually renamed the Royal Bull's Head Inn in 1860 after the Queensland Governor Bowen stayed there overnight. Now, today Horton's Inn, it actually has a reputation, and a lot of you listeners might know this, it's got a reputation as being the most haunted building in Toowoomba. Now, some say one of the ghosts is Horton's 16-year-old bride, but look, that's another story. Because we'll go on with Horton. You see, he suffered a very bad fall off his horse, and a good deal of damage happened to his head and face. It was awful. Eventually, he died under the veranda of his Drayton house. But it's how Horton got away with assaulting the policeman that's really interesting. Now, in 1850, Mary Fallon was a rather disreputable character, and she was charged by Horton with stealing vegetables from his garden. Now, once in court, Mary burst into tears and took great care to exhibit her 3 children there. Now, this had the desired effect, and Horton withdrew the charge, which shows he wasn't always the hardened former convict you might think. But Horton was soon back in court, and this time himself being charged at Drayton with having assaulted, beaten and bruised on Constable Samuel Smith. Now, the same Constable Smith was later involved in an affray when his chief constable and another constable scuffled over a warrant. They were parted, but a full fight broke out, and Smith was in the middle of it all. Now, at about the same time, on the veranda of Horton's Bull's Head Inn, a terrible war of words erupted between a magistrate and another man, which soon escalated to trading blows. And this Constable Smith was there again, this time to make an arrest, but he later controversially and probably illegally released the offender at the request of the same chief constable with whom Smith had earlier been involved in the affray. But look, back to Horton's assault of Smith, and in court, all the big names of the New South Wales legal system were there. And even though Horton pleaded guilty, everything still went his way. See, Horton was represented by the Sydney barrister, William Purfoy, who was later a district court judge. The Solicitor General, William Manning, was there, and he presented depositions in Horton's favour, signed by 3 magistrates who were actually present when Horton assaulted Constable Smith, and all 3 were of the opinion that the assault was totally justifiable. Now, Horton's barrister presented a further document. This time it was 13 gentlemen that signed. 10 of them were magistrates, and again, fully supportive of Horton. The Chief Justice, Alfred Stephen, he was the presiding judge in the case. He knew 5 of the men, and 2 of them were his close personal friends. So you could say that Horton and his legal team had definitely done their homework.
Yes.
and crossed the I's, dotted the T's or whatever. Now, Horton, he pleaded guilty, and so the Chief Justice was bound to pass sentence, which in the end was just a nominal one, a fine of 1 shilling. And so the ex-convict William Horton of Drayton, he remained free to assault, beat and bruise constables as he saw fit. Now, I don't know what happened to Constable Smith. He got bruised and bashed, but I do know that his chief constable, got the sack. But it just goes to show how the law has changed, I hope, over the last 175 years.
That's for sure, mate. Another great yarn, and of course, you'll be posting that online onto your website.
Yes, that's right. Go to the website, historyouthere.com, or you can get through all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, and so on. In fact, there's a photo that you posted on the 4WK website of the Chief Justice.
That's right.
Alfred Stephen. Yeah, and he was the one that personally knew a number of those magistrates. So there'll be photos and stuff there, historyouthere.com.
Bringing history alive. Thank you so much for that, Harold, and we'll look forward to catching up again next week.
See you then.
Make sure you check out the website, historyouthere.com. They're always a great story. And don't forget, if you've got any history stories that you want followed up, you can always give us a yell here at 4WK and we'll pass your details on to Harold. It's as simple as that.